Posidonius, a name you've probably never heard of, unless you're an expert in Stoic philosophy. If you want a quick fix to most of life's problems, you must understand one of his greatest, yet simplest, of teachings.
Posidonius of Rhodes, born 135 BC, was considered the most learned man of his time and of the whole Stoic school. He was a politician, astronomer, geographer, historian, mathematician, teacher, and most importantly, a Stoic philosopher. Throughout the Greco-Roman era, he was considered a polymath and was close to mastering all the knowledge of his time. His scientific studies took him all across Europe and Africa. He even worked out the effect that the moon had on the tides, the circumference of the Earth, and even the mass and makeup of objects many light years away. More importantly, and the part that helps you, is his interest in human behavior and human intellect. This took him all across the world, studying different cultures and their behavior. One story, he visits the Celts in the Gael, and they were described as these barbaric men that would slit their throats for entertainment and money. But he said, even these men held great respect for philosophers. The greatest minds from all across the globe would travel for days just to have a conversation with Posidonius and to hear his intellect. And when he opened his school in Rhodes, it eclipsed the previous school and became the center of Stoicism. Even with his big brain and great achievements that are cemented in history and paved the way for newer knowledge, he put most of his efforts into one thing. He had learned the secret. A secret so simple, you wonder why it took a genius to figure it out. Welcome back to The Everyday Stoic. I am William Mulligan. I simplify, modernize, and make practical the ancient philosophies so that you can live the good life. This video was brought to you by the Memento Mori Life Calendar, which you can get 20% off with code DEATH. Firstly, I want to explain 3 of his teachings that have survived. And they didn't survive through writing because all of his writing is gone. They survived through the impact they had on the next generation of philosophers. 1. Plato and Aristotle. 2. Body of philosophy. 3. The organic universe. Plato and Aristotle. Plato and Aristotle were obviously 2 of the most prolific and notorious philosophers throughout history. But what Posidonius did is he had the teachings of Stoicism that were very grounded in their logic, their ethics, their physics. Then he looked towards Plato and Aristotle, the things that they were teaching, the virtues they were teaching, the ethics they were teaching, the logic and physics that Plato and Aristotle were teaching, which was a huge step in Stoicism. Number 2, the body of philosophy. Many people broke down philosophy into 3 parts. You have logic, physics, ethics. But Posidonius believed that these should all be unified. So he compared philosophy to a living being. The physics was the flesh and the blood. The logic was bones and tendons holding everything together. And ethics was the most important. It was the soul. The third thing that Posidonius taught of was a Stoic principle, and it was taught by previous Stoics, but understanding this principle of Stoicism will help you be a kinder and better person, much kinder to people, more empathetic and more understanding. The principle is sympathia, the understanding that the universe is interconnected as an organic whole. So everything in the universe, the plants, the trees, the nature, the people, everything is all connected. Our fates, our natures are all interwoven. So if you want a quick fix to most of your problems, then you need to understand his simplest of teachings.
Whenever you take offense at the wrong done by another, move on at once to consider what similar wrong you are committing. It could be setting value on money or pleasure or reputation, and so on through the categories. This reflection will quickly damp your anger, aided by further thought that the man is acting under compulsion. What else can he do? Or, if you can, remove the cause of his compulsion.
So, there is a problem in most people's lives that results in them placing blame and removing personal responsibility. But by removing responsibility, you also remove your power. So, as Posidonius taught, stop talking about what it means to be good. Stop arguing about what it means to be good. Stop criticizing people for being less of your standard. Stop criticizing people for not being perfect and criticizing people for making mistakes. You're guilty of mistakes. In other people's eyes, you're not fitting their standards. So stop all of this. It's just all rubbish. Just be a good person. And what is a good person? Well, subscribe to The Everyday Stoic and I'll teach you. Now, I'll quickly simplify it. Is that the Stoics believed in the 4 cardinal virtues. This is the only good. That's it. Courage, wisdom, temperance, and justice. This is the only good. Then vice is the only bad. Injustice, cowardice, intemperance, foolishness, that's bad. And everything else is indifferent. Doesn't really matter. But if you base your actions off of the 4 virtues, this is good. So just remember that. And thank you for watching.